Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to the Arena Decathlon for event number 5, a traditional draft of the Brothers War format. The Arena Decathlon is a series of 10 different events where the goal is to acquire a Decathlon token from as many varying formats as possible. We are 4 for 4 so far, heading into the 5th event. Hopefully we can grab another token today. So this is again a traditional draft of the Brothers War, which means we will be drafting against other players and then playing best of 3 rounds of gameplay. This is one of the longest decathlon events by far. All of the best of 3 or traditional events require you to get 5 match wins before you get 2 match losses, which means at the bare minimum you're going to be playing 10 games of Magic if you 2-0 every single round. So this is going to be a long video today, a chunky one, but we're going to do everything we can to see if we can acquire Decathlon token number 5. So without further ado, let's head into the draft and see where the cards take us today. Here we are now, pack 1, pick 1 of this draft. Several great options of where we want to go. There's a Blackblade Reforged, which is quite a finisher in the late game, letting you spend 7 mana to equip a creature and give it +1/+1 for each land you control. This is a bit slow. Again, it is that 7 mana investment, but turning any creature into a win condition is pretty huge. As for cards that are efficient, that will be able to try to kill people with in every single game, we have Excavation Explosion, a very nice efficient removal spell, grants us a Power Stone as well. This can also be shot at an opponent's face in the late game if they're low on life. We have Thopter Mechanic as well, 1 and a blue for a 2/1. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, getting another counter on this and turning into a Thopter when it dies. So my favorite card in the pack here is Thopter Mechanic, and I'm probably going to go with it here. I just think that this is a format that you can really get some very good aggressive curves going, and Thopter Mechanic is great if you're on the aggressive or if you're on the defensive against other aggressive decks, whereas Blackblade Reforged is a little too slow to be able to be played in every single game as a win condition. Thopter Mechanic can always grant you great value no matter what's going on in the game. So pick 2, we now have a Disfigure for a very cheap little interactive spell. That would be a solid pickup. There's not too much else going on in this pack, honestly. There's like the big 8/8, but that plays pretty slow for the format. There's a Paratrooper or a Cavalry if we want to take some white flyers, but overall, not the scariest pack. We'll just grab a Disfigure for cheap interaction and move on to pick 3. Here we have Prison Sentence as great interaction in white. Taking this over not much else. We are taking it over a Draft Node, which can make copies of artifacts, but you have to draft around this card a little bit, and it's pretty slow. But it can make some high impact plays, but we'll just go for Prison Sentence. Cheap interaction, cheap removal, ways to stop your opponent's bombier cards is pretty important in this format. We are on pick 4 now. We have Trench Stalker to go really heavily after the blue-black draw 2 theme, but if that's what we're doing, we have 2 cards that are a little more important for the archetype. Evangel of Synthesis, giving us the second draw for the turn when it enters the battlefield, and being a card that gets that extra power and menace every time we draw the second card. Or there's Combat Courier, which is a really efficient way to trigger our draw 2 cards in several turns, and just a good value play. So Combat Courier fits into the widest variety of decks. It's always going to be good in any blue deck. So I think I'm going to take that here. Evangel's a little bit higher upside, however, it does lock us to blue-black specifically. So I'm going to go for Courier, so if we do get cut off of blue, or, well, if we do get cut off of black, we can still use this, and it'll still be great in the blue-black archetype. And it does look like I'm potentially wanting to push towards blue-white, because we do get a pick 5 Static Net, one of the best uncommons in the format. Exiles any non-land permanent until it leaves the battlefield, and gains you a couple life, gets you a Power Stone when you play it, so Static Net is phenomenal removal, and I will easily take that here. Definitely pushing to blue-white over blue-black as our goal for this deck. Pack 1, pick 6, we see not a whole lot. To be fair, there's not a whole lot of good cards for any archetype in this pack. Suppose I can take a Curate here. That surveils and then draws a card is another way to potentially work with our Thopter Mechanic. Not a super exciting one, but the other options are a relatively unexciting little protection spell. And a little weird little draw spell for black or something. I'm just going to take Curate or Escape here, and I'm going to go for Curate. Pack 1, pick 7. Here we have another Combat Courier that I'm very happy to take. Take Flight is another option. This plays really poorly against removal spells, which is why I don't love it. I think this is a format where you draft removal spells really highly, so you definitely have to expect your opponents to have them. That being said, this does win the game really quickly if your opponent can't kill whatever you throw it on. But yeah, if you play this, get one attack off with your creature and then they remove it, it's not a great deal. And if you play this and they kill your creature before it attacks, it's a horrible deal, so not into it for the kind of risk there involved in playing the card, so I'll grab Combat Courier. We now have an Ichor Wellspring, which is a fine way to use our Thopter mechanic again. I'll also just take a Third Path Savant instead, because Wellspring is not great unless you have a lot of ways to sacrifice it, which is really only in black and red, which we're not really looking to play right now. Heavy in blue-white currently. I'll go for the Savant here. Well, Wellspring does have other synergies. Doesn't have other ways to sacrifice it in like blue-white, but there are ways to utilize artifacts. Like they'll trigger your prowess spells. If we get the 2/2 flying prowess in blue, they will help cast Warlord's elites. Those are 3 mana 4/4s. You have to tap an untapped creature and artifact to play. Creature and or artifact. So Wellspring can help cast that as well. There's other things the Wellspring can do. We'll roll with it here. And it's possible we still play a little bit of black with this Disfigure here. And this pick 9 Trench Stalker. I think this card is very good when you can consistently draw 2 cards. So I'm actually going to roll that into the deck here. The only white spells we have right now are removal spells, so we could be like blue-black splash white or something. We have a Koilos Rock versus an Ambush Paratrooper here. I think the Koilos Rock, I'm more likely in blue. Gix's Caress is fine. Lay Down Arms is fine. It's not great unless you're very heavy into white. Cavalry or Trench Stalker here. Blue-white Soldiers Flyer card or blue-black Draw 2 card. We didn't wheel the blue-black Draw 2 uncommon, which is awkward if we want to move to that archetype, but we are getting these Trench Stalkers late for it too. I'm going to take the Trench Stalker. These cards are all pretty bad. Take a Soldier I probably won't play. Take a little Combat Trick I probably won't play. 2 in a row there. And pack 2, pick 1, get a very nice rare. 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer that creates a 1/1 soldier every time it attacks and lets us tap 3 of them to draw a card. Sky Strike Officer is just absurd. It is easily the pick there. Pack 2, pick 2, we see another copy of Prison Sentence to push to blue-white soldiers with this soldier rare or an Overwhelming Remorse if we want to stick more to blue-black draw 2. It's definitely one of those excellent removal spells. Certainly want to take Energy Refractors really highly, but not over the removal here. So hoping to get some Energy Refractors later to help us splash whichever color doesn't become a core color of the deck. These are just tricks. In black we have double Trench Stalker, Disfigure, Caress. In white we just have a bunch of tricks, a filler creature, and then Static Net Prison Sentence. Static Net Prison Sentence is huge though. Guess I push a little more towards white. Double Prison Sentence, Static Net here. Sorry, Trench Stalkers. Prison Sentence it'll be. Now we don't really have anything. We have a Riposte, which is fine. Especially in best 2 out of 3, you can play this every time you're on the draw, thanks to sideboarding, which is nice. Beachhead is not nice enough to just take it right now. It would be fine if it wheels, but mostly just blue-white mana fixing. Potentially a little better if you have a lot of soldiers on board. I mean, I guess I have double Prison Sentence Static Net, so Beachhead does give me something I'm missing out on a little more, especially if I do end up splashing a 3rd color. Having a little bit extra mana fixing in the mana base is fine. Riposte is not like great premium removal, it's just when you need it, it's fine. I'll actually take the Beachhead here. We now have not much. Chromatic Star is a fine way to fix for an off-color card one time. Machine Over Matter is pretty solid, cheap interaction. I'm going to take the nice Mana Rock first. Kind of a late explosion there. I feel like I've seen very little other red cards though, so it's a bit awkward. Recommission's not looking super hot in here. It can get a Sky Strike Officer back, but side of that, it brings back like a Combat Courier. Just not consistently going to have a cheap creature in our grave. I don't think we take it this early. And the other option's really just Machine Over Matter, though. Or just an off-color explosion to try to play off Chromatic Star. I think I'm just going to take this explosion and maybe wheel one of these other two. A Mutt, super late. A Mishra's Research Desk? Maybe there just wasn't good red in pack 1, or I was just completely blinded. Because this is some insane late red stuff, this pack. White, red, splash, blue or something here? Nothing great in white or blue again. Riposte and Savant would be fine. Take a Mutt here, and even if I don't play red, it's fine. If I do, it'll be excellent. Now we take that Refractor we're looking for. Late Disfigure there, too. Another Combat Courier. Have these all day, never stop drawing cards. Vanguard's fine, too, but Courier's just excellent. Now I'll take a Vanguard. Pretty good with all these Couriers. Nice Vigilant cheap creature. I mean, it's looking like we're just going to be blue-white, but weird stuff about. Some weird stuff about. Mightstone's animation's fine in here. We have Wellspring, Refractor, Chromatic Star, Triple Courier to put it on. Get more, it'll be great. Probably better than Recommission. Now we take a third path Savant this time, because there's not much else, unless I'm splashing in a Vanguard. Maybe, I mean, like a maybe splashing in an Explosion. Feels unlikely, but probably higher upside than a Savant. So we're definitely blue-white. Splash in red or black here. Machine Over Matter or Power Stone Engineer. I have 3 2-mana creatures already. Actually, another Power Stone is pretty valuable with Mightstone's animation in the deck. So trading off a Power Stone Engineer to have a Power Stone left behind to then animate is pretty good. Not super high on the Survivor, so we'll take a Recommission, and that might be fun to do. Survivor can be good out of the sideboard if your opponent is a really aggressive red deck, like an aggressive red-black deck, and they have the 2-mana 3/1 in red and the 2-mana 3/1 in black. Like, just having a 1/1 first striker against 3/1s is really good. Alright, I'm really happy to take another Thopter mechanic here. We have 1,000 ways to trigger this card between triple Combat Courier, Chromatic Star, Curate, Scrapwork Mutt, Energy Refractor, Ichor Wellspring, Sky Strike Officer, Mightstone's animation. This is very consistently going to get bigger and bigger, and even when it doesn't, it's great value. So super happy to take that. Love to wheel the Stern Lesson or the Energy Refractor, I suppose, but very happy to take Thopter Mechanic at the start of Pack 3. I don't think I have any of the Howling Mine synergies here, where you try to keep this tapped during your turn so that your opponent doesn't draw the cards. If you can make Howling Mine one-sided, you can often win the game. I guess we can do that with Mightstone's animation, that's all. Does trigger our Thopter mechanics. It might be worth trying to play around with, it would be fun, but I don't know if I can really afford to be doing fun things here. I'm trying to be super competitive, take like the very cheap Weakstone Subjugation removal, and Mutt synergizes really well with our mechanics anyway. Also an Airlift Chaplain, it's great in the sky. Plenty of great stuff we can do outside of that. I'm going to go for Subjugation here. Now we have another Recommission, a Power Stone Fracture off a splash, potentially. Mass Production or a Medic. I don't really want to play any of these cards. I could play a Bulwark. Bulwark's just an annoying blocker to put on the ground while you start playing your flyers to try to win the game. It is a thing we can do. Move all of our non-creature cards over to the side to see how the creature curve looks. I actually don't have that many flyers, so I'm not that impressed by Coastal Bulwark. I don't think I'm going to play any of this yet again. Like a Mass Production or something. Again, don't think it super matters there. I will play an Aeronaut Cavalry, I think, or a Machine Over Matter. Cheap little bounce spell, or a nice big flyer to put a counter on something. It looks like our non-creature slot's pretty full up here. Yeah, we have 12 creatures, 9 non-creatures. I'd like to up that creature count more, so we'll grab an Aeronaut Cavalry. I think I have enough soldiers for that. I only have 3? Dang. Actually pretty low on soldiers. Got 4 removal spells, Subjugation, Double Sentence, and Static Net. Probably don't need Riposte that badly. I think I'm going to go Cavalry over that. Warlord's Elite looks really fun in here, but so does Mightstone's Animation, or 4th Combat Courier. These are all great options. I think I'd rather have my first Warlord's Elite. That'll also up my soldier count for the Aeronaut Cavalry, and this is one I can pretty easily, consistently play on turn 4 at the latest. And then get a counter with Cavalry. Let's get that soldier count up here. Now we have an Airlift Chaplain or a Disenchant. Disenchant is solid sideboard material, but Airlift Chaplain looks pretty good in the main deck here. Another Prison Sentence. Wow, nice and late. Really happy to see that. I could have even gotten another animation here, but I'd rather have more removal. Ooh, Kayla's Reconstruction. That's really good in this deck. So for basically triple white and 3, you look at the top 7 cards of your library and put up to 3 cards of mana value 3 or less on the battlefield. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is a little under half the deck, but if you're digging 7 cards deep, probably, yeah, a little under half of 7 is 3. Yeah, triple white and 3 is probably where we want to cast that most of the time, but at triple white and 2, we can almost guaranteed get 2 cards off of it. Another Airlift Chaplain here. Did wield a Howling Mine, but I'm not gonna go for that. Could have been a Howling Mine brew, but I said no. I was rude. Actually starting to turn into a potential recommission brew. I'd rather take Machine over Matter over the Riposte. Super late Combat Courier. I'll take a 4th of that over the Thopter. Our Thopter mechanics can do absurd things all the time. Yeah, maybe we cut the 5s and we just go really low to the ground, recommission Kayla's Reconstruction brew. Ooh, Military Discipline for a combat trick? We could be a really rude, really quick brew. The Discipline's in for now. Gonna have to cut 10 cards out of here. Okay. It's gonna be really hard to fit recommissions in because there's so many good non-creatures. And if we want to be aggressive, apologies about the chair, if we want to be aggressive, we got to keep this creature count pretty high. It's at 17 right now. Don't want to cut a lot of those. All right. I am very tempted to start off as like a 15 land hyper aggro build, dropping the 5 drops out of the deck. All in on Kayla's Reconstruction. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 creatures that can get hit by it. And multiple artifacts that can get hit by it. And we don't need mana fixing that badly anymore. We drop some of the more dirtily mana rocks, although that makes animation worse, so we just drop all of the dirtle out of the deck and be completely just slamming creatures out consistently and trying to punish slower archetypes. Cut 2 cards out of the deck. I like Machine over Matter to punish slow people. Could cut the double recommission, but we do have that Sky Strike Officer looking really valuable. And it's a pretty strong card on Warlord's Elite. Every single creature in our deck is a target for recommission. Maybe I am cutting the combat tricks. The Disciplines here. Quadruple Courier for value. I could also just get rid of Curate. Curate and a Discipline. 15 land deck here, super aggressive stuff. I think that's where I want to be today. I want to beat some people down. Alright, here's a look at the final deck list we're going to be playing today. This is a blue-white, very, very aggressive deck where all of the creatures are mana value 3 or less. Just trying to curve out pretty consistently with combat couriers into whatever 2-mana, 2-power creatures we have. But if we get Thopter mechanics down with those couriers, these can get real big real quickly and replace themselves with a flyer. And at 3 mana, we've got some flyers like a couple chaplains and a Skystrike officer being a big bomb, as well as just some beef with that Warlord's Elite there. For our non-creature spells, that's where the deck gets real spicy. That Kayla's Reconstruction, allowing us to hit any creatures in our entire deck to slam onto the board in the late game, and tons of cheap removal and interaction to keep the path clear, to keep our opponent's life total low. Static Net, Triple Prison Sentence, Machine Over Matter for bounce, Weak Stone Subjugation to tap something down, and Military Discipline for a combat trick there, and a couple recommissions, so whenever our good cheap creatures die, like Thopter mechanics and Skystrike officers, we can just put them right back on the board with a +1/+1 counter. So a very aggressive, very angry deck today. But I am feeling angry. I'm going to try to rip some people apart before they can cast any spicy spells. So we'll see how it plays out as we head into round 1. Alright, here we are in game 1 with our first hand. A definite keep. Courier into Mutt into turn 3 Warlord's Elite and get bashing in with a recommission backup. If they don't exile our Warlord's Elite, then we can just recommission it back from the grave. Playing against a blue-black with a Gixian Infiltrator here. I don't believe they would want to take this trade, so I'm going to send in here, get my free point of damage, drop my Mutt, and discard this island because, again, we just saw the vast majority of our deck cost 3 mana value or less, so we really don't need the 4th land unless we're going to hit Kayla's Reconstruction, in which case we need more white sources than blue sources, so we dump the islands in the trash. They just pass through the turn here. They could Scatter Ray our Elite, but we can recommission it. So we'll go for it. No Scatter Ray, could be a go for the throat or something, but nope, they probably would have used that as well. There's nothing to play turn 3, it looks like. Maybe holding up a trick for the Elite, but I've got double recommission now, so we definitely know that we're cool with trading the Elite off into any kind of combat trick or removal spell. Maybe a Moment of Craving here, +2/+1 lifelink. Moment of Defiance is what it's called, but it is still the same trick. I'm very cool with that because we still kill the Infiltrator. So we still trade our cards 1 for 1, and then we recommission the Warlord's Elite as a 5/5. Drop another Courier and pass the turn. Opponent has 5 mana up for a potential Trench Stalker here. That would be annoying for us. But a 5/5 Warlord's Elite can still attack into it. Power Plant Worker, that is also a little annoying for us. The amount of lands we've drawn is the most annoying part. They probably kill Mutt on blocks here, which is not good value for us. We need to cycle through these couriers, so we attack with everybody. I think I don't attack with the Mutt, because them blocking the Mutt is bad for us, but blocking a courier, it's like, okay, I'll cycle a courier, draw a card. Static Net is the draw. That would have been great before combat here, but it is still nice to have. Could get 1 extra point of damage off of reanimating Courier later, but this is a much more efficient way to use my mana since I'm not doing anything else with it during this end step. So we'll draw another card, get our Airlift Chaplain. Latinam Adept from our opponent gets a +1/+1 counter during any turn that they've drawn 2 cards, which can't be right now. They can't draw 2 cards for only 2 mana. So I think pretty fine to just Static Net the Plant Worker. Don't really have a follow-up play though. Still just be attacking with Elite. But then they can't double block and kill the elite. So that's okay. Just play another combat courier, I suppose. Got enough removal in the deck, and we're going to have 2 combat couriers sitting here to attempt to dig for it if they play another threat. Just keep that aggro on, threaten to hit for 5. We do hit for 5. Drop our next courier. They're down to 9 life now, and we have 4 potential cards to draw on the board with the double couriers sitting there. Courier's really showing in hot. Really coming in hot. Really showing up well. Definitely know what I'm talking about. Stern lesson from our opponent. Gets a +1/+1 counter on the Adept and a Power Stone onto the board tapped. Adept is now a 4/4. Ooh, they're gonna bounce our static net here, maybe? They were eyeballing the static net, eyeballing the elite. They're gonna exile the elite. Fair enough, so we need to find removal for Adept now. Or I could just try to kill them in the sky with Airlift Chaplain. That requires 3 of my mana. I have 7. Get 1 damage in with these couriers. Sacrifice whichever one they do not block. Or whichever one they do block, sorry. Oh, a Thopter Mechanic? That would have been real good 1 millisecond to go before I drew my second card this turn. Still a good play, though. We'd probably go Thopter Mechanic, Airlift Chaplain, because even if I go Mechanic and draw a card off Courier, that will be my 3rd draw this turn, which won't trigger it. And Mechanic, Chaplain. I'll go Chaplain first. See exactly what we mill. Another Chaplain? I'd like to loop Chaplains a little bit more than I'd like to have a 2/2 Chaplain, because they do let me dig to my Sky Strike Officer, which is nice. Potentially fill more couriers into my grave. Alright, opponent taps out. Which means we're definitely getting there in the sky. I can Prison Sentence the Adept, but then they still have a 3/3 and a 1/3 as blockers on ground, which means I'm not hitting very hard there. So play a Chaplain. We're pretty focused on winning in the sky now. Land, and Courier decline, so I can have 3 power in the sky, speed up that clock. We can recommission a Combat Courier or a Yoshin Medic, not worth it. So let's just get a Courier back to trigger our Thopter Mechanic and draw a card here. And just hit for 1 this turn. Hubble Prison Sentence, love the removal in this deck. Absolutely love it. They're down to 7. They need to find removal for 2 different Airlift Chaplains. They do have an Urza to help them get there. Draw a card, discard a card every turn, which triggers their Adepts as well, but they are not in a position to be attacking with those. 1 card in their hand here. Another land for us is not actually bad, because we definitely have a lot to do with our mana. Back with everybody, they only have 2 blockers. I could double Prison Sentence here, and if they don't have removal, they're just dead. Actually don't even need to cast both, I think. They block there and take lethal? Yeah, I only needed 1. So they're going to scoop them up. Well, that all felt pretty phenomenal. I don't know what to swap around here, really. They have, like, Overwhelming Remorse. We saw 1 removal spell. Outside of that, the Moment of Defiance is a solid trick. They're on a blue-black draw 2 deck. Could play Lauren's Escape over Military Discipline, because it's better at countering removal, I guess, but not too much else to swap around. That seems like an okay swap. Although Military Discipline would have been pretty fine against all the 3/3 and 4/4 Latinum Adepts as well, so could really go either way. I'll go for the Lauren's Escape, though. Try that out. Heading into game 2. Alright, we've got that late game Kayla's reconstruction this time, and a nice curve with Courier into Air Marshal. Another Courier. So these cards can guarantee that we are drawing extra cards to help hit the lands that we need to get to reconstruction late game. Not in love with Yoshin Medic, although it's good against their 2-1. But if I have to discard something to Scrapwork Mutt, it will probably be Yoshin Medic. Do I want to do that here? Yeah, I want to consistently be drawing cards here right now, guaranteeing my land drops. I'm going to get rid of the Medic here. If I hit another land, going Courier Air Marshal is a little more exciting. Play it aggressively again, rather than defensively. I can't reanimate Mutt, so I'm not that interested in a trade here. This might mean they have the 3 mana 2/3 to play this turn anyway, but it didn't seem like they have a lot of ways to sacrifice things, so I don't think Infiltrator is going to get bigger later. Alright, they're going to play a Gurgling Anointer. Just Prison Sentence that, scry into some mana for Reconstruction. This seems pretty fine by me, I have no attacks otherwise. Alright, there's 1 mana for Reconstruction, I get another mana off Chaplain. So we go Plains, and then like play Air Marshal double Courier or something, and then turn after I can play Chaplain and get another Plains. Seems a-okay. Put them down to 16. Ashnod's Harvester is the play. That is very good against us. That is very, very good against us. Offer Mutt for Harvester here, and then just have a bunch of Couriers back for pretty awful trades for them. Ooh. Alright, Mutt for Harvester it is. They can reanimate the Harvester and get rid of Mutt from grave, but we can't. We've got like 1 Energy Refractor in our deck. If that. I'm pretty sure I cut it. We're just running the Mutts as a 2-1, discard a card, draw a card. For our Thopter mechanics and just to consistently hit mana when we need it. Alright, Stern Lesson for the draw 2 from our opponent. Because they can animate a Harvester and get rid of a Courier from my grave, I'm actually not super into just cracking a Courier right now. A little greedy. Get a Plains from Chaplain. Perfect. 1 mana away from Reconstruction, trying to hit 3 creatures. Latinam Adept from our opponent. Still, Reconstruction for 2 creatures is still pretty fine. I just do that here. Definitely start getting hits in the sky. Alright, 3 options. We take the 2 best ones, which is Vanguard Mechanic. That's still a pretty good deal for us. And now we have a Vanguard on board with all these Couriers. Or a Mechanic on board with all these Couriers. I guess both kind of work with them. Nice. This is a Soldier, right? Ooh, Air Marshal can give the Vanguard flying each turn. Make this game go a little faster for us. That's pretty tempting. I think I'm just going to set that up here. For now, we've got all 4 of our Couriers with the Thopter mechanic if we want to do that instead, but speed up the clock here, hit them in the sky. And yeah, we've got a multitude of card draw just lying on the board. Unless our opponent has that -1/-1 to all creatures spell. That would be hilariously good here. Mightstone's Animation. That will trigger both Adepts and give them a 4/4. So we are definitely just all in on the sky. All in the sky. Take 4 down to 12. Cycle a courier to trigger mechanic. 3 mana to make Vanguard flying, so I have 4 mana to play around with. Not enough to cycle and reanimate a courier. Because I'd want to cycle, reanimate, and play, and then crack it again, which is awkward. Well, I'm still going to draw a card with it here for our Thopter mechanic. But yeah, now 3 mana to give the Vanguard flying here. And then mana to draw another card off this courier. I could still play it to hit for 1 more with Vanguard, but I think I'd rather keep it engraved. They could Harvester it away. But so be it there. That is the play. They're down to 8. This is going to be a hard-fought race here. They have a lot of power toughness on the board. These adepts are really popping off. Alright, if they have their moment that gives +2/+1 lifelink, that's going to be pretty brutal. But at least I can crack a courier in response. That is the plan. I think I go mechanic and courier onto one of these. Because if mechanic dies, I get another 1/1 flyer. And if they play a trick here, I get to crack a courier. We choose the adept. A trick is big enough to save either. Or +2/+1, right? So that would be +3/+2 on the adept. Puts it to 6 toughness if they have the moment thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Losing Vanguard would be a massive deal, though. I don't think I actually do. Maybe I just block with Courier and then draw a card off of it. This could be really wrong, but I'm gonna put a Courier on each and then sacrifice whichever one they lifelink if they have that trick. And I'm just gonna let them die, because if I crack one now, they can respond by tricking whichever one. That was like really playing around the life gain trick, which might have been bad. Alright, they get to exile the Air Marshal now. Not beautiful. Now I can't just bring back a bunch of Couriers and send Vanguard into the sky for crazy things. Not a super good draw there. Two Couriers to enter the battlefield this turn. So that Vanguard is big enough to attack into Adept. I guess if they have the lifelink trick, we are going to lose this game regardless, because they still have it up on blocks. So yeah, I guess I just shouldn't have played around the lifelink trick. Went for the best blocks I could have had if they didn't have it. Alright. Let's see if they have it. They definitely win if they do. Alright, well, I played around a card that they did have, but it's just so good on this board state that it gets us either way. Brutal. Yeah, they strongly win this game playing that on attacks or blocks. Card is just busted here. And just in their archetype in general. Recommission a Yoshin Medic's actually kind of spicy here, a 2/5 lifelinker to block Adept. I guess I draw a card off Courier first, but that's probably the line. Another Chaplain. Big yikes. This feels like a pretty rough matchup for us because they just draw so many cards. They just keep running things out on us. If they can survive the initial onslaught, they will come very far ahead very quickly in card advantage. I'm just going to go to 2 here. I've pretty much lost no matter what. I guess 4 because Yoshimedic. Alright, well. They only have 2 attackers. Well, no, they have 3. They have the Might Stone as well. But I can block the Might Stone with lifelink. We're still hitting them. Thopter Mechanic gives us multiple chump blockers, and I have to just go Courier defensively rather than trying to buff Mechanic up over time. I'm pretty sure we're on full chump block mode. There's just way too many tricks that can demolish any of our blocks. Hit for 4 in the sky. I kill them in 3 attacks in the sky. If I can do them. Warlord's Elite. Is your blocker here? Oh, did that the wrong way. I need to tap 3 and then I tap an untapped land to the Warlord's Elite. I forgot that's the kind of weird way it's worded. There we go. And then we crack the Courier, holding up the mana to be able to play another Prison Sentence if we draw it. Recommission is the draw for Thopter Mechanic's pretty big. Recommission Thopter Mechanic, that's more chump blockers. And if I chump block with Mechanic, I get another Flyer, which then kills them. Right, we'll see if I can survive this attack. If I can, they will die. If they have anything to give something flying till end of turn, we're dead. That looks like a no. If they have the lifelink trick again, that would also be pretty devastating. Just gonna make all of my blocks because I don't really get any crackbacks. They scoop them up. They see that's gonna be 5 Flyers on the board, and we are 2-0 in the first round. They must not have any removal in the hand. Brutal game for our opponent there. Super close stuff. Very hard fought. We are now 1-0 heading into round number 2. Here we are now in round 2 of the Brothers War traditional draft. Another great hand with turn 2 Mechanic with a Mutt to draw cards off of it. Also have that late game reconstruction that can be real spicy. Playing against Black-Red, they play a Thraxidemon turn 2. They are on the play, so if I want to play this more defensively, I just go Mutt immediately. But I'm going to get greedy on that Thopter Mechanic value. I don't want to play the Mutt until I've got a Thopter Mechanic on board. That being said, honestly, Mechanic for Thraxium is not a horrible trade. I don't think Mechanic's going to get bigger than everything they're probably going to play throughout this game. Yeah, just get a Flyer here and get rid of this thing. It's fine. Mechanic's just so good that like either way you use it is great value. Either way you use it, especially if you have a Recommission. Now I can Recommission and Mutt in the same turn, and then Mechanic will be a 4-3 that turn. That's going to be a beautiful turn 4. That's going to be a beautiful turn 4. those were some nasty mills for me. Static net prison sentence there. Don't significantly want this plains. It does get to my reconstruction a little early, but I can wait on it. I have plenty of other good spells to play, so let's just have a 2/2 flying chaplain. Very sad about the mills, though. Well, they're blowing up chaplain with excavation explosion. Most likely. They're very fiercely and rudely eyeballing my airlift chaplain. Okay. They are not going to kill it. I am pretty happy with that. And let's go for some recommission spice, shall we? Sorry, Ocean Medic. I'm going for spice here. Opponent's still stuck on 3 mana, so they're just going to pass right through the turn. We are at 5 mana for a reconstruction. Tempting. Tempting. Mechanic trading into an acrobat and giving us a flyer is fine. I can also just play Vanguard plus Elite and not attack with the ground troops. Pretty cool with that. I think that's what I'll do here. Disfigure Chaplain. Yep. Disfigure Chaplain it is. They're down to 15. Here's a Vanguard. Here is an Elite. And I've got great blockers set up. 1 mana away from potentially putting 3 more cards on the board with Kayla's Reconstruction. They're just going to scoop them up. They are just tired of not drawing lands, and they don't want to think through the rest of the game, so we will be 1-0 in round 2. The excellent way to start there. They've got enough creatures that I actually like Military Discipline a lot in this matchup. Subjugation, we didn't see their late game plays, obviously, so we don't know if Subjugation would have been important to have on big creatures later, but I imagine it's not the greatest against a sacrifice deck. I think I'd rather just have another Military Discipline over that as a relatively easy swap. That's probably about it. Sheen over Matter is not great in matchups where your opponent's creatures are mostly cheap, which is most of red-black, so that would be another one we could toy around with here. Change that out for a... maybe put the Subjugation back in, or Aeronaut Cavalry for another big beefy flyer or something like that, but I'm just going to run it back here. Just add a Discipline. If we're going to be getting into combat against a bunch of small creatures, Military Discipline is premium. Alright, Snapkeep here. Strongest card in the whole deck. We haven't got to cast it yet, but we will try to cast it this game, and even if it dies, if it hasn't been exiled, we've got 2 recommissions in our deck, so... Sky Strike Officer. Hopefully do some nasty things, and also, even if it dies, the rest of the hand is phenomenal as well. Well, our opponent has a Disfigure, hopefully for our Thopter Mechanic. See if they'll Disfigure a Courier. That would be really weird, but maybe. Maybe they really want to throw a Disfigure at something here. Disfigure the Mechanic, it looks like. Again, I'm pretty cool with that. That's just how good Mechanic is, where if it just dies and turns into a 1/1 flyer, I've still got great value. I traded into their removal spell or their creature, and I left behind a valuable card. A 1/1 flyer is definitely good in this deck. I'm tempted to try to wait till I get another blue source for Sky Strike Officer. If one of these was an island, I'd 100% wait to play Officer, but since I don't know when I'm going to draw another blue source, I'm just going to play Officer now. If I knew that this was a blue source, then I could just go Medic this turn, and I would know that next turn I get to play Officer and hold up Machine Over Matter to put it back in my hand if they try to kill it with removal, but I just don't know when that's going to happen now, so I'm probably just going to play the Officer regardless. I could still just go Medic here, and really hope, fingers crossed, for that next blue source. I think it's better to just slam down Officer. So we might be waiting a long time for that blue source and just never playing it. And we have recommissions if they have the explosion, which they do. Have recommissions in the deck. We could be reanimating it later. Okay, and we would not have hit the blue source yet, so at least there's that. Engineer plus Courier, or I'm more efficient with my mana by going Medic Courier. Or just put less power on the board that way. I'm gonna go Engineer Courier. Engineers are such a good trade for this Acrobat. And I get to hold up Machine over Matter this way, so I'm still kind of mana efficient. Exile an artifact or creature in my hand engraved. That's so rude. That's so rude against me. Oh my god. Well, there goes Skystrike Officer. A very good sideboard card against the recommission deck. That sucks. Not a lot else to say. That sucks. There's the blue source. Alright, everybody, let's just get in there. I'm angry now. We get to start working through our couriers, but we get value every time. Play around them playing another Dreams of Steel and Oil here? Or do I just hold off for an extra 1 point of damage? It's literally 1 point of damage. I'm just going to use it right now. Courier's like one of the few unearthed cards that I'm like, alright, I'll just spew 1 point of damage worth of value and just get it out of the way. Opponent must also be on like a 15 land deck here, or just getting really unlucky mana-wise. Oh, speaking of getting really unlucky mana-wise, a little much mana-wise for us. Attack with everybody, they get to kill Engineer here. Bounce their thing, I have just no plays. Straight up just have no plays. I feel like I just cycle through this Courier. See what we've got here. Okay. Just bounce this Strombo. They're just going to replay it next turn. But I hit for 4. Time walks them. Never going to get much better than that. Well, Mutt is very good in this hand. Got a 4th mana, so they can play a 4 mana spell instead of the Strongbow for 3. We'll see. Not a lot of 4 mana cards are that much better than Strongbow. Gigamold, that's fine here. Milled a Carrion Locust. Annoying card against our deck for sure. Definitely going to pick it up here, I would imagine. Still haven't drawn any removal this game. Oh my god. Still haven't drawn any removal this game, so there's a ton in the deck to get through that Locust. This card, these extra white sources. 19% of my deck is lands now. One out of 5. I should have played the Beachhead just to get the tap land out of the way, even though I don't have any soldiers on the board. But I guess whenever I do get a soldier, I can just reveal it to the Beachhead because I'm going to play it the turn I draw it anyway. I guess there's no real reason to. It only gives soldiers +1/+1. So our opponent's down to 7. We are down to 11 as well. We've been taking a lot of acrobat hits. What we're going to do is get through this flyer and then just keep chipping away with our Thopter. 15% of our deck is mana now. A trade for Locust doesn't seem horrible, but I have 2 military disciplines in here. That would make me win that fight. Probably just passing. There's an Infiltrator. Pretty good with that Acrobat. And Strongbolt, pretty good when we're down to 10. We might be closing things out against us here. We are just running into really bad draws this game, fortunately. Yeah, we gotta just double sack this courier. Alright, that's another courier. Send in the sky with the acrobat again next turn. They don't have any artifacts to sack to the Strongbow at least. This is really not looking good for us. There's our military discipline. Is going to be interesting for us. Gotta hold that off for blocks here. Looks like we might not get to block here. If they play an Unleashed Shell, we are dead. Kill our flyer, do 2 damage to us, and then attack for 5 in the sky. Disfigure the courier. I only have 3 blockers, so I think that is lethal wherever they put it. I don't know why they went for courier instead of the Thopter, though. Maybe they have a rivalry they want to use on the Thopter? Block Acrobat, block Gigamo, block Locust, take 5. I guess I'm not dead. They're probably rivaling me, in which case I am definitely dead. You got it, opponent. Unfortunate game there, we just hit really statistically unlikely amount of lands. And could not get the follow through to get the kill. Moving on to game 3 of round 2. Grab a Lauren's Escape against Sibling Rivalry. Go down to just the 1 discipline again. 1 escape, 1 discipline. And the main thing we need to do is draw more non-lands this game. Not a lot else to say here. Moving on to game 3. We are definitely going to play first for the final game. We're a nice aggressive deck. We've got a Lauren's Escape for our Skystrike Officer. If we hit 1 more land here, we can wait till a turn 4 Officer with an escape to protect it, and that should be a pretty great way to try to close the game out. Even got a prison sentence for some removal. Disfigure the Engineer. Usually I have a lot of great ways to use the Power Stones. That's probably a pretty good deal for me. Solid trade. Just gotta get some couriers. Alright, we'll play it nice and slow this time. Learn my lesson from my last Skystrike Officer. We'll wait for the 4th land. And this time it could be any land, so it's a lot easier to wait for than last time. Show me the burn spell. You got it. And there we go, Skystrike Officer time. That is super suspicious. I'm not going to make a block here. If I can hold on to Lauren's Escape for later, I will. Rather not force myself to use it to stop a combat trick. Definitely use it to stop the explosion. Scry 1 as well. I don't actually really want that land. Nor do I want that one, but cannot scry 2 with that card. Send in the Sky Strike Officer. Could military discipline their Thraxid Demon to death with my soldier if they don't have a trick here. I feel like they have a trick based on how they attacked last time, so I'll just take 2 for now. It's A-okay. Rock Hunter. It does have reach, so we will prison sentence that and scry. Thraxid Demon pretty good against our prison sentences, but it's still our best removal spell. Whoa, alright. Opponent is definitely a preemptive scooper. They are just over it. I thought it would have taken quite a while to die there, but I guess they are just sure they do not have outs, and we are going to be 2-0 heading into round number 3 now. Here we are in round 3. We've got a combat courier with a machine over matter, which means the machine over matter will be 1 mana. Now I even have Power Stone Engineer to play turn 2. So we are curving a little bit. Again, we're running a 15 land deck here, which means if we open a 4 land opener, as we did, it's only a 34% chance of hitting lands, and now we're down to 32%. So most of our draws statistically will be non-land stuff. Try to find some more things to curve out with here, keep the pressure on, while our opponent is not playing creatures. But they have turn 3. It would be pretty surprising for them to still not have a creature on turn 3. But it certainly happens. Mishra's Command to discard a couple cards, draw a couple cards, and just kill our 2-1. Alright, they gotta just dig for some creatures here, I guess. Don't really have much to do early game. Discarding a Scrapwork Rager and a Flaji Vanguard to draw 2. Well, we are 3 lands out of the way. Board's hitting some non-land good stuff. Cycle my courier, but I probably just turn it into a land. Wait on that until it's useless on the board, and then I'll cycle it pretty freely. If I had 5 mana here, I'd be a little interested in cycle, reanimate, cycle. Unearth a Rager, draw a card here. Decent value. Hit us for 2. Yeah, the courier still does very little, so I will go ahead and draw the card in the end step here. If I get a follow-up play for this turn. Medic, sure. That is a play. And an Air Marshal as well. So 1 to reanimate the courier and 2 to sack it. I still only have 1 island, so I can't play the Air Marshal and reanimate the courier. So if our opponent has the exile a creature in hand and a creature in grave card, they're going to get us pretty hard with it. We're just going to keep that courier in grave for a while. Another blue source. Alright, now I'll go Marshal and courier here, I think. Courier first to see if that changes what I want to do. That definitely does not. Air Marshal it is, and we will pass the turn. If anyone is keeping count, we're now at a 27% chance to draw lands. Drawing enough lands that we just keep lowering and lowering the percentage chance on our next draw steps. At some point, We should hit mostly gas. Transmigrant altar, usually not great, but this game is going more than slow enough that the altar can really pop off. Especially alongside an infiltrator, they can just keep turning their other creatures into 3/3s. And they can even just keep sacrificing the 3/3 to make another 3/3 to keep triggering the infiltrator, making it bigger. So, there's a static net. Okay, exiling infiltrator when they've got the altar on board feels pretty good. The altar just turns their creatures into 3/3s essentially. Any creature they have, they can make a 3/3, so it's not that important to static net that when I can just get a creature instead. Although our subjugation, all of our removal pretty much outside of static net gets a lot worse as long as they have the altar on the board. Maybe I am just hitting the altar here. Seems fine. Now we can actually like subjugate and stuff. Air Marshal's definitely not blocking, so we'll send it in. Pass the turn. Mishra, claimed by Gix. I can subjugate that, but that won't stop its ability. Gaining them life, draining me for life every time they attack. Each opponent loses X life and they gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. That's pretty dang bad for us. Skystrike Officer's pretty dang good for us. Well then. So I play the Officer, hold up blockers, and then I can draw a card off of it next turn because they'll have 3 untapped soldiers. When they move to combat, I machine over matter their Mishra. I could return my own static net and then kill Mishra with it instead of the altar. Could be reasonable. I feel like Officer into bounce Mishra is also pretty reasonable. Start drawing multiple cards every turn to find my other removal. You know what, I can even subjugate it and just hold up machine over matter. Yeah, let's let them get the life drain thing. They don't have great attacks anyway. And if I just keep harassing their other creatures and making sure my board state's a little better, they won't be able to get too much life drain from Mishra. That's pretty rude, but I've got my trick. How good am I going to block here? If I don't block at all, I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Probably don't draw the card then. Could draw the card by tapping everybody, but then I take 9. Send in Skullflayer Chanter again. We get drained. But I stop some damage and gain 1 life. Lanes from our opponent and another altar. Okay, I guess altar on static net's not doing anything for us. Another land for us. 26% at non-lands here. Pass the turn. Any of our combat couriers will be great. We still have 3 in there. Cycle us through some more stuff real quick. Alright, so they're playing off the top here for removal for the Sky Strike officer. They had an empty hand at the start of this turn. We'll see what they drew. But the altar is decent enough at competing with the officer on this board state, because they get to sack Mishra, get a 3/3, get a counter on Infiltrator. And again, it's pretty good against any of our removal that we could hit throughout this game. And they're just going to pass right through and drop an infantry. Alright, let's draw a card. Go, Sky Strike Officer. Kayla's Reconstruction, that makes up for every single land we've drawn this game. That card is wonderful. Card is absurd here. That can hopefully close out the game in our favor. We are going to be having to compete with a lot of zombies, because they can sack the infantry, get a 1/1, then they can sack the 1/1 to get a zombie, and Infiltrator keeps getting bigger. They still have some scary stuff going on there. So I want to spend 2 mana on Vanguard. I could go triple white and 4 for Reconstruction. The odds of having 4 of my top 7 be mana value 3 or less is not super duper high, but it is definitely possible. The alternative play is to hold the mana up for Air Marshal. Probably not good enough to justify not just going Reconstruction for 4. Just in case that we had 4. There you go. That should probably just do it for us. Even milled a Combat Courier. Milled another Thopter Mechanic I can just put in my hand here. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, we're actually just golden. Million bajillion blockers, but if they get to the point where they have 15 creatures on board, I guess Mishra can drain us to death. Could tap 3 soldiers to draw a card right now to trigger Mechanic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I want to have 5 blockers up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I will. Oh my god, I'll have it. Yeah, I'll still have enough blockers. I won't have my lifelinking blocker anymore, though. Wait, no, I can. Because I can just do Vanguard and the 1/1. There we go, trigger the Thopter Mechanic. Pass the turn. Alright, we hit the gigantic clump of non-creature stuff there off the Kayla's Reconstruction. We're now at a 46% chance of lands. We've gone back to that like 50-50 that you start at. Board state's also ridiculous. Gotta pass turn here. Got a beachhead to work with all our soldiers. I've got a mechanic with all our card draw. Even got a recommission I could play here. It's on an engineer. I'm gonna save the recommission. Play this courier here to trigger that. Draw a card to trigger Thopter Mechanic. We can go Officer, Mechanic, Chaplain, the Hasting Courier. Still have a million blockers, which I do want because of Mishra's life drain. Something like that. Probably should have sent Vanguard in as well, that would have been fine. Alright, block the courier. Thopter Mechanic's an excellent attacker here because it's going to trade into a creature and give us a 1/1 flyer. Be chipping it in the sky. Probably should have actually sent the Warlord's Elite into the sky as well. Probably do that next turn. Definitely making a mental note of that. To remember that my Air Marshal can send all this stuff into the sky. I should have waited on that. That was so dumb. I should have waited on the drawing the card till I had both mechanics on board, since I could just recommission the mechanic they were about to kill. 11 cards in the deck here. Can just draw 2 cards off Sky Strike Officer alone to trigger the mechanics in my opponent's turn as well. They have 4 blockers. Pretty sure the math here adds up for me. Elite into the sky. Vanguard into the sky. Air Marshal into the sky. Medic into the sky. There's probably more damage to go Beachhead. This is still a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 plus 4, 13. Yeah, if a single 1/1 gets in, they're dead, so. Oh, Vanguard just makes them dead. Because we trigger another artifact hitting the board. If they survive here, though, they actually do have a shot at killing us on the crackback. Because of Mishra. If they can blow up all 3 of our blockers and then attack with everybody, that's lethal. That seems pretty unlikely. They'd have to survive this attack without losing pretty much any of their creatures, and then also they'd have to kill all our creatures to attack back at us. Alright, seems like it is just gonna be lethal this game. We're now 1-0 in round number 3, heading into game 2 here. I'm not in love with our enchantment-based removal, but I can't really afford to just not play removal, so I don't think we swap any of that around. They had a Mishra that was pretty scary. They had great targeted removal like Mishra's Command and Overwhelming Remorse, so Lauren's Escape seems fine. They've got those altars to worry about, but we don't really have like a disenchant or anything here, so just the Lauren's Escape over this Military Discipline seems okay. Are there a lot of great positions for Military Discipline? It would have been pretty fine at all times. Would have been pretty fine. But so will Lauren's Escape. It will also be pretty fine. Yeah, swap the 2 around. Call it a deck, head into game 2. Here we are now in game 2 for this round with a definite mulligan, unfortunately. Opponent mulligans as well. Probably got a mull to 5 here. This is where our mana base is going to catch up to us. Keep this, I drop a static net. Any land does let me cycle the courier, but then still need another to get to the chaplains. We're gonna mull to 5. Alright, this is the best hand we have drawn so far. Definitely hoping that they do not have the removal to kill the officer. So I'm definitely not going to reveal officer to the beachhead. I think I'm going to play the beachhead turn 2 tapped. Now even if they kill officer, we have reconstruction. We have another nice bomb for late in the game. Oh yeah, the beachhead, we can just reveal the soldier. We can just reveal the officer the turn we play it, so I can still curve out here. So I will. There's the giant cinder maw. They have 3 cards left in their hand. We drew into the machine over matter, which means if I do hit another land, I get to hold that up when I have an officer on board, but they just played a 4-3 trample for 3 mana, so if I sit here waiting on my officer, I'm going to fall behind real quickly and probably just die anyway. Right, because I just don't have good blocks for that. They get in pretty aggressively, unless I just immediately hit a land after this, and the odds of that aren't very high with 15 lands in the deck. 38%. It's a losing coin flip to hit the land for Machine Over Matter next turn. Yeah, I think I have to just play this here. Best bet to not fall behind if they don't have the removal spell. Alright, that's a Mishra. I am very glad I played this officer. I would be miles behind here. There'd be no recovering if I didn't hit the land drop next turn. That is super, super bad for me. Guess I can double block trade into Cindermaw at least if they send in here. Get at least the 4-3 trampler off the board, but I take a lot of damage doing so. Losing out on my ability to draw cards with Sky Strike Officers easily by losing one of my soldiers, but I think it's worth it. Spend 2 mana on the Engineer and still spend 1 mana on Machine Over Matter is probably the play, because I will have an artifact creature down, reducing Machine Over Matter's cost. So I can now bounce my officer if they have a way to kill it, and I could just trump block Mishra every turn, but we'll still be getting our life drained. Well, can't really win without this card. The way things are currently going. Not even sure if I can win with it. I have to draw my prison sentence or something like that. I have like 3 of those and a static net. It would all really work against this Mishra. Alright, no blocks here. Maybe I can stack up a multi-block on it to keep it from hitting me. Got 1 card in hand. Hopefully that card is not getting rid of my Sky Strike Officer. Fought through 1 removal spell here. So 1 card in hand plus 1 card off the top of the deck. See what's going on for them. Ichor Wellspring to draw them a card. They can also draw 2 cards by sacrificing that to Thraxidemon. Land for turn. They are going to go ahead and draw a couple cards off that from Thraxidemon. Very good value plays for our opponent. A triple block Mishra, they only kill the officer. Okay, so they don't even attack. I was going to say, so I would maybe not want to, and maybe want to triple block Mishra, but I don't think I would have if they put me to that. Sure, I get to drop this courier and also play my next courier. I'll wait till they block, because maybe they won't. Okay, they will. Another courier. Three cards in their hand now, 2 mana of each color, and 3 black. Scrapwork Rager, still drawing some cards here. Still digging for some removal. We're kind of doing the same here. We're still not actually guaranteed to win if we don't kill Mishra. They can still very much find ways to lethal us. We're at 13. They drain life no matter what happens in their combats. Like, we're hitting them really slowly because of their constant life gain. All they have to do is attack with 2 creatures each turn, and it doesn't matter how much I block with. They'll be winning this race. So they'll be gaining 2 every turn, and we'll be taking 2 every turn. So we'll be essentially dealing 0. I'm just gonna try to do this. Hope for the best. If we get this Mishra off the board, then we are doing pretty solid. Looks like we get the Mishra off the board. Now I'm feeling pretty confident. Even if they get rid of my Sky Strike Officer, I've got a Kayla's Reconstruction coming down later. So I'm awkwardly not really hitting the lands for it, so if they kill the officer like immediately, then could be having some issues. I think I only need like 1 or 2 more turns of officer shenanigans to be good here. Goblin Blast Runner, that's pretty scary. That can be a 3/2 menace as long as they've sacrificed a permanent this turn. Penrigan Strongbowl. That does synergize with the Clay Revenant, but I guess so does the Thraxidemon. But that synergizes in a way that deals damage to our face, which is pretty threatening at 12 life. And they have a really wide board state now, which is also very threatening. Guess I'm going to play a Chaplain and a Combat Courier here to get as many blockers as I can. But I'm getting pretty scared. If we can hit a Plains off this, I'll actually pick it up here rather than making this a 2/2, I think, because of this reconstruction. Although a 2/2 can kill so many of their different things. A pretty difficult choice. Only having a single 2/2 would be pretty bad on blocks. Awkward. I think I actually just need a 2/2 on blocks. They're pretty great on attacks as well. They don't have any flyers on the board. Alright. Some sick Clay Revenant value they're going to go for here. Draw a card. And they can return the Clay Revenant from their graveyard to the hand and replay it again. Skullflayer is triggering if the Clay Revenant stays in the grave. They'll start getting counters on this at their upkeep. I assume it's not going to stay in the grave. That being said, if they like attack with Blast Runner, I am going to double block and trade into it, and then Skullflayer will be triggering. Okay, so I think I'm going to try to kill the Skullflayer for sure. Also, the Blast Runner. Rager's fine. Play pretty defensively and throw Courier on Strongbow. I don't think I do. I think I just do that. Alright, they just have a Thraxodemon and a Strongbow now. Got a prison sentence we could put the Strongbow under. They're going to cycle that Rager for its value real quick. They land, get the damage from Strongbow. We are down to 9. Recommission is the draw, kind of tempting on the Airlift Chaplain. Get a 2/2 flyer, puts them dead to 3 attacks in the sky, and also probably hit a planes. Still afford to combat Courier and draw a card the same turn I do Recommission, but I could play it real safe and just keep Recommission for the Sky Strike Officer if they ever kill it. Instead, we go Courier Prison Sentence this turn. This also seems pretty solid, so I'm going to go for that. Accidentally minimized Arena, I do that a lot. Oh, I don't have the mana to return the Courier and sack it here. I'm 1 off if I go for Prison Sentence instead. Still pretty fine, though. Scry on the top here. Keep Recommission for my bomb. 2/3 and 1/2. Keep both of these. Actually, so I can go land. I'm actually just going to cycle this Courier immediately. So I can play land for turn, then next turn I go land Reconstruction. Oh no, I need another white source. I am a doofus. 1 white source off. Got 2 more card draws from these Couriers, but I should have kept 1 land, put the other on the bottom. Because I specifically need planes. Maybe it was just scry both to the bottom, honestly, because I need planes still. Well, that was pretty bad. That's definitely going to give my opponent some breathing room towards potentially pulling out a victory here. Sack the Strawbow, draw a card it is, 5 mana up. Dwarven Forge Chanter. And Clay Revenant. That comes into play tapped, so they only have the 1 blocker up. Okay, so I go Courier. Courier. Sacrifice, sacrifice. And kill this 1/1 to get extra damage in. Put them to 5 life. There's the planes for the Kayla's Reconstruction. We're at 9, they're at 5, but we now have Reconstruction next turn. Infiltrator, very good with Thraxodemon Revenant combo. Might have been worth it to just recommission to get a 3/3 flyer out last turn. Disfigure my soldier. 3 for 5 damage they hit us for here, put us to 4 life. I will have a 1/1 blocker off of Sky Strike Officer. And a Scrapwork Mutt. I think 2 mana for a guaranteed Mutt is better than reconstructioning for 4. I think I reconstruction for 3 and then guarantee my mutt down. Could affect how I attack if I just completely miss here. Let's reconstruction for 3 first. I guess I probably still attack. Okay, I did get 2 things. That's not a complete miss, and I'm very happy I kept the mana up for the mutt. Okay. I have 1 blocker up from Officer either way, whether or not I attack, so we definitely send that in. We're going to block everything to stay alive to an excavation explosion. Minutes. They've got 12. If we go to a game 3 here, it's going to be a full game. I think anybody's going to lose to time. Even though it feels like it has been a century. That's just how best of 3 is when you got to get 5 victories to get out of there. Usually traditional drafts are you just play 3 rounds no matter what. So 3-0 would be winning the traditional draft. So playing it out to 5 victories or 2 losses is just incredibly long for an event like this. I don't know why they made the traditional events so much longer than the regular ones this time around. Because the regular events are just as long as a normal one, 7 wins or 2 losses. But they decided to like double the length of the traditional draft events. They're done on board, and let's hope that just stays the case. Does remain the case. They just couldn't kill the Sky Strike officer. Alright. It's very, very long, very hard fought rounds here. Gotten pretty lucky as well. Definitely made some loose lines and some misplays there, but again, the power level of the Sky Strike officer helping us out a lot. We're now 3-0. This is the point where we can say we officially won the traditional draft. Once again, if it were a normal traditional draft, but this is a Decathlon traditional draft, so we still have to play 2 more rounds minimum. So this is that time where it's like, all right, I played basically a full draft with this deck. I've been playing a lot, but the Decathlon just asks for more in traditional. Again, I have no idea why, because it asks for just as much gameplay in the best of 1 queues. But I digress. We got the moral victory now. Would have won a regular traditional draft. I keep this and hope for Plains off Courier. Oh, that is the worst draw in my whole deck. Might have to mutt that away. Hopefully not. Probably going to get greedy and not do that. Yeah, since I drew an island, I can just mutt away the island. We need plains so badly that island is basically a colorless land, which is not very helpful right now. Playing against yet another red-black deck. Turn 3 Strongbow, the play you want in that deck. We do hit a plains here, which is perfect. I can prison sentence the Strongbow now, and scry for some more plains, which these are not. Courier might be okay to keep, but I'm really digging for specifically plains with reconstruction in hand. Static Net as well, another card we would like to be able to cast as soon as possible. That needs another land, so scrying towards those is good. Just prison sentence all the Strongbows all day. Still have a Static Net if they have a big bomb creature. But just stopping Strongbows should be decent enough for now. It's a pretty important creature to the deck's plans. Their main cheap sacrifice outlet. They could sack their Wellspring in response here. I don't know why they wouldn't. Probably what they're waiting on here. Getting that trigger going. Yep. Draw their card. Hit us for 1. Shut off the Strongbow. Looking for plains. There's the double plains. Snap keep. They're now down to 13. Next turn, we're likely to just play 2 creatures, unless they play something real scary that we need to static net. That's something real scary we need to static net. Unfortunately. I guess we don't need to static net it when they have an empty board, but probably for the best. I mean, it's not really a standalone threat, but it's a really good way for them to sacrifice their strong bowls. It requires 3 mana to do it, though, and it doesn't matter unless their board state's really wide. We know we're just hitting a land next turn. The fact that we know we're just hitting a land next turn means we don't really have follow-up play, so attack here, then slam the creatures down, then static net next turn. It's probably the best way to spend these 2 turns, and then we'll just static net the Genius next turn, because that'll still be dealing with it in time before it starts doing anything crazy, because again, it doesn't do anything crazy until their board state is pretty wide, which they'll have to spend a bunch of mana to play more creatures, which means they won't have the mana to use the Genius the turn they play all that stuff. Gurgling Anointer is the play. Now I'm moderately tempted to static net the Anointer. Can't possibly be right, but everything else I have can attack in a Junkyard Genius pretty easily. I'm just going to get weird with it and exile the Anointer. Again, Genius, very scary ability, but doesn't matter till they have more creatures, and we'll just keep them off the more creatures here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They go to 4 life if they block Courier. It's only threatening 1 more point of damage if they just choose not to block, so we're going to keep Courier. Oh, Whirling Strike? Sure. It forced them to use that defensively, which is probably a good deal for us. They're down to 7 life, and we have this huge reconstruction. If we hit 1 more land, I'm going to snap that thing off. This Air Marshal is threatening to find lethal pretty quickly. It can attack for 2 damage every turn in the sky. Scrapwork Mutt from our opponents on the ground, cluttering things up a bit. Getting a little wider, making the Genius a little scarier. Power Stone Fracture to kill the Air Marshal, get rid of our flyer here. See if we can get a land off the top. Send in the Genius, alright. I guess I get an attack with Courier now. We do get a land off the top, so send in everybody. Trade Courier for Mutt is fine. Trade Mutt for Mutt is also fine. We hit for 1 this way instead. Reconstruction for 3. See if we can hit a couple flyers, but anything is good. That is 1 flyer. And it is definitely drawing removal if they have it. Now 19 life to 6 life. They do have the sibling rivalry to kill the Sky Strike Officer though, so they did have the additional removal spell, and it's pretty brutal with Sky Strike Officer because they get to keep a 1/1 soldier behind after this attack. So that was essentially the same as if they just had like an Excavation Explosion in hand. Not good for us, but could have been any removal here. Brutal. Airlift Chaplain is definitely a good draw. Go for that here. Warlord's Elite's another good draw. I'm going to actually play that. Over making the Chaplain a 2/2 flyer. There's Obliterating Bolt for the Warlord's Elite. Runner, runner, runner for an opponent here. Last turn. Alright, Chaplain number 2. Let's see if you get us some good stuff as well. Optor Mechanic's fine. We've got a courier out. Probably worth getting that instead of a +1/+1 counter, because when it dies off, we get a flyer. It's kind of like the +1/+1 counter once it dies. And some moderate-sized beef here. Overwhelming Remorse to exile it. Perfect removal for that, because we don't get the Thopter if it gets exiled. Opponent's deck is absurd. Overwhelming Remorse, Obliterating Bolt, Fracture, Rivalry. Our deck is pretty absurd as well, and we are in the lead here, so hopefully we can just keep it up just long enough to kill them, but this is a terrifying deck for future games. Send in the Mutt here. Gonna die in the end step anyway because it's been unearthed. We kill them in 3 attacks in the sky here. Play a medic, play another courier, cycle this courier. I'm just gonna cycle the courier right now. See what we've got. Another Thopter Mechanic. Kind of an awkward timing there, but fine card. I think I'd rather go medic courier, play that next turn. Transmigrant's Crown. Pretty great with Junkyard Genius. They can equip that to whatever they want, and whenever it dies, they will draw a card. Also gives +2/+0. Now, this is a really nice deck from our opponent. Very well drafted, well designed, put together here. I have concerns for Game 2 and a potential Game 3. Alright, land is fine. Alright, they're just going to scoop them up. We're just going to go land, sack courier, unearth, attack with everybody. Are we threatening lethal there if we did that? 3 blockers, 3 attackers on the ground? No. Actually, we're not threatening lethal with that, because they could just go block, block, block. So it was probably just mechanic, cycle courier, see what we hit. Just hit for 2 in the sky, put them to 1. Attacking with everybody on the ground would have been like trade, trade, block. Alright, anyways, another peek at the deck. Just a very good red-black sack deck. Transmigrant's Crown, great cheap removal. Sibling Rivalry. Sibling Rivalry is a huge card to counter with the Loren's Escape. So Escape over Discipline again. It feels like every game. That's been getting swapped around. But that's about it. Everything else looking pretty great. Pretty happy to run it back for Game 2 of Round 4. Here we are in Game 2 of Round 4. Opponent is on the play. Chromatic Star. The turn 1 play. Drop a combat courier and pass. Horned Stoneseeker, very, very good 2-mana play. 2/2 menace plus a power stone for them. No attacks with courier, then we'll just play a Phalanx Vanguard and pass. Threatening the double block on the menace. We saw 1 Whirling Strike from our opponent. This is probably that, but I only really lose the Vanguard. I still have unearth value from courier. If they don't have it, this is a pretty good call on the bluff. Alright, they do have it, so we get that out of the way at the cost of a Vanguard. Not that big of a cost. Lauren's escape for later. Play a courier and pass. They're stuck on 2 mana here. I really don't have any action. I'll just cycle a courier here. See if I can draw into anything that matters. Neither of us really have any action right now. They need lands, and I need some spells. Some creatures, specifically. There's one. Not a great one, but it's a creature nonetheless. They do have that Chromatic Star to cycle into lands. Dig for mana. They're going to go for the Scrapwork Mutt first. Discard a card, draw a card. Medic is now significantly better, because it's very good at blocking 2/1s, and there's the Swamp for our opponent. Fully rewarded for the monocolored 2-lander keep, which is unfortunate for us. That would definitely explain the monocolored keep. They've got the Bomb, Transmigrant's Crown, so anything I kill that has the crown on it. Draw our opponent a card. I'm just going to go Medic, Beachfront, hold up an escape here. Next turn I can go Thopter Mechanic and play a Courier Sacket. Get the Mechanic to 3/2 status. Just move the crown onto the Stone Seeker now and just chip for 4 return. Also put the crown on the Mutt and offer a trade for Medic. And I could trade into Lauren's Escape instead, but they do draw a card off the trade still. Good for them. I think I am going to trade for Lauren's Escape because I'm still kind of low on good creatures to have on board. Medic is one of them. Scry that to the bottom. Opponent will draw a card off the crown. Play a Junkyard Genius and pass the turn. Got the mana for Prison Sentence plus Thopter Mechanic here, which is fine. I'm just going to equip the Stone Seeker. I gotta get rid of this Genius. They have so many Power Stones and stuff. This thing could be tremendously explosive. Right, so we're going to set up a Thopter Mechanic for all these Couriers. Reanimate the Scrapwork Mutt for some extra damage and a card draw, discarding a mountain to draw a card. Moving the crown around now, maybe. Trigger when it leaves the battlefield for any reason? No, just dies. So if they put it on the Mutt, they won't draw a card in the end step. Unless they have another sacrifice effect, which is certainly possible in their deck. They could be trying to Power Stone Refractor the Mutt away to kill the Mechanic or the Medic. There's a Wellspring. 1 mana? It'd have to be a 1 mana way to sack the Mutt now. I think I just take this. They don't draw a card from the crown this turn. Alright. Yeah, just to get extra damage in. Could have got the damage on the Stone Seeker too. So I guess now they have to re-equip crown again, at least. Alright, Courier. What are we gonna draw here? Hopefully some goodies. I don't currently look like I'm going to be winning this game. Ooh! That's a goodie. That certainly classifies. I can spend 1 mana and keep this thing tapped down. They need to play another creature now. To do anything. Otherwise, we've just got some creatures on board. They've got no creatures on board. Let's go. Any sacrifice outlets out of their deck will be pretty great for them. They've got multiple expendable cards. Disfigure the mechanic. Well, they still get a Thopter at least. But that does make our next combat couriers significantly worse. Still pretty good though. There's an Infiltrator. Yep, that's a really nasty creature to draw here. That is super good with all this expendable stuff to sacrifice. They actually don't have the sacrifice outlet yet. Okay, that's not that bad for us. They don't have a sacrifice outlet to go with the Infiltrator. But as soon as they draw something that can start sacking the Stoneseeker Genius, all the power stones, we'll be in a real bad spot. Infiltrator's already a 5/2 with a crown on it after sacrificing the Chromatic Star. I already don't have attacks into it. At least I have blocks for now. There's Machine Over Matter. That's an excellent draw. That makes me feel all kinds of safe. Block the courier, I draw a card off of it. Ooh, and a recommission. Thopter mechanic. Recommission a mechanic, I can still afford Machine Over Matter here. It's pretty good. I think this is the best recommission deck I've ever drafted. I'm also just drawing it at the right time. I'm always drawing it late. That's pretty obnoxious that exiles. Don't think it's worth Machine Over Mattering here. Really close. I feel like it's better to have this as interaction for whatever nonsense they try to pull off. So close though. I'm actually gonna bounce this. At 12 life against black-red, I am gonna take a chump here. Actually went for the double block, but I don't really want to trigger their crown. Now we've got a static net. I think I'm going to use that right now, although I could. Net the Infiltrator or the crown. Net the Infiltrator. Again, if I just keep hitting all their creatures, crown doesn't do anything until they play more creatures. Another recommission. Very nice. Well, can't recommission an exiled creature. Bring back Vanguard. Which is another soldier, I think. It is a soldier, so it's probably worth it with the beachhead on board. But let's see what we get off Courier first. If it's another creature to play, I'll do that, but if it's just a land, then I guess I'll recommission. If it's Reconstruction, I'll also recommission, because I'm not going to play that till next turn. Stay aggressive here, try to kill them before they can draw into any outs. Play our cards as aggressively as possible, as quickly as possible. And they're going to scoop them up. We are now 4-0. We are only 1 round victory away from completing Decathlon event number 5, the Brothers War Traditional Draft Decathlon. And no matter what, we're getting 3 packs out of the event. Let's just get into round 5, which is hopefully the final round. Alright, we will definitely be on the play here. We have some couriers to get started up. Definitely, again, looking for other creatures, because the couriers don't do much when it comes to attacking and blocking. They're mainly just our little value engines. But we've got great removal. Couriers to dig around a little bit for some other cards. Definitely a keep here. Both colors as well. A reasonable amount of lands for our 15 land deck. Playing against a green deck here, they are immediately going to Bushwhack to grab a land card of their choice, put it in their hand, and it is going to be a mountain. And we are quite lucky here. We're just going to get a turn 2 Power Stone Engineer, curve out with a creature. Matters a little bit more in combat. Nice 2 power there to bash in a bit. So, mountain from our opponent, and they pass the turn. Unfortunately, Chaplain is not a soldier, so we do not get to play Chaplain turn 3. We have to play a tapped Fortified Beachhead here. And just play another Courier, or cycle the first one. I'm just going to play another Courier. Because as long as their board's empty, the Couriers do hit them for 1 damage a turn. They are on full Jund, green, red, and black, playing a Goring Warplow. That is a very solid trade for any of my creatures, because they're all 1 toughness anyway. We don't really care about that Death Touch. And no blocks from our opponent means they're already down to 12, and now we're casting our Flyer, milling an Air Marshal and some lands. Tempted to pick up the Air Marshal. And I think I will here. Probably better to have an additional potential Flyer than it is to have a +1/+1 counter on this one. There's a Scrapwork Rager from our opponent, taking another damage. They're down to 11 here. Exiling that or locking it down on the board would both be great ways to interact with that card. Don't have the mana to exile it, but I can lock it down with the Prison Sentence and see if we get the 4th land here for the Static Net. We then hit them for 3, put them to 8, get a Power Stone from Engineer. Seems pretty reasonable because I've still got more interaction to use. More removal. There is the land and another Prison Sentence, both pretty great draws. Trade into the Engineer now and go to 8 as expected. Power Stone's going to be very helpful at activating these Couriers more efficiently. Opponent drops a Trench Stalker, which can definitely not stay around because of its ability to get lifelink being so good. I have enough mana to go Thopter Mechanic, Machine Over Matter, and still trigger a Courier thanks to this Power Stone. Get a counter on this Mechanic and then still have Static Net for whatever they play next turn to find lethal. If they just tap out for Trench Stalker again, Static Net or Prison Sentence, and kill them. That game really showing off the power of Machine Over Matter. Tremendously good against like 5 mana creatures. When you're on the aggressive and you just counteract your opponent's entire 5 mana play for 1 mana. The fact that we get to bounce that back and still play our own mechanic, cycle our Courier in the meantime. Brutally efficient bounce spell in positions like that. Scrapwork Ragers the play, putting them to 4 life. Disfigure for Thopter Mechanic, maybe? They were eyeballing it for a second. Be a fight spell. Epic Confrontation it is. They are now tapped out at 4 life. We have 4 power on the board. We simply Prison Sentence the blocker and hit for lethal. Moving on to game 2 of the final round. Well, not guaranteed to be the final round. If we lose the next 2 games, there's 1 round after this. Got a second try if we lose. But that was a great start for us. We were just on the play with a pretty decently aggressive start against a slower deck, it looks like. A lot of late game stuff here, just trying to play some big creatures. Warplow's super bad against us. Super happy to see that card. Yeah, all of our removal looks great in this matchup. Trying to grind out like Trench Stalker life gain with Ragers, so we really need to make sure we have removal for that. Those Trench Stalkers, get that life gain out of the way, but honestly, I don't really think we sideboard much at all here. I don't know how good Discipline works. It's fine against the 2/2s, but most of their creatures can be really high toughness, like a 5/4 there, a 4/5 Trench Stalker. Might even just be into more flyers, like putting an Aeronaut Cavalry over the Military Discipline. Be all in on our big chunky removal rather than our combat trick removal, just triple Prison Sentence, Static Net, Weak Stone Subjugation. Machine Over Matter is definitely staying in. Soldier count again? 5. And big flyers close out the game. Throwing a cavalry here over the Military Discipline. I don't know how often +1/+0 first strike is really going to get us there. Against the green deck. So they will be on the play this time, which does give them a big benefit to actually trying to survive some early turns. But it's a pretty great opening hand. Thopter Mechanic with a recommission to bring it back after it trades off and gives us the Thopter token. And now we've even got the Courier to go along with it. That's kind of what we were drafting around early on. Thopter Mechanic with Couriers all day. Two Mechanic, 4 Courier. Kind of just the deck here. And there we go. They're both on board. Opponent is 2 mana deep. They've got a forest and a swamp. No red source still. Double black and a green. Cradle Clear Cutter is the play. We've got a turn 3 Sky Strike Officer. Accidentally minimized Arena because I'm a genius. That always clicks right outside the box because I play windowed. Well, I threaten to kill the Clear Cutter if they block, so they won't. And then we play Sky Strike Officer post-combat. Just really hassle our opponent here. Even if they kill this thing, we've got the recommission. And their +1/+2 fight spell won't kill it right now. There's the Death Touching blocker to deal with it until we find a way to deal with that. So I guess we're just attacking with Mechanic now. Unless I just want to immediately trade into Recluse and recommission, but I'm not a big fan of that here. And I have a bunch of ways I could just shut off the Recluse and then still have the recommission for if they, again, use any other removal on Officer. Alright, no blocks it is. 1/1's just never going to get in, and I'm already just trying to dig for removal, so I am going to cycle Courier here, I think. Definitely not tapping that way, though. Thank you again. Auto tapper, very cool. My Vanguard here. Best potential attacker. I just need to reanimate the Courier and it'll be attacking as a 3-power creature. It's also a soldier to help get 2-3 soldiers on board for Sky Strike Officer. So if I just play Yoshin Medic, I could just tap Officer, Vanguard, Medic, draw a card, dig for the removal for the Recluse that way. Again, we're super cool with any epic confrontations from our opponent. I would not be cool with Overwhelming Remorse because it exiles. But if they throw this officer in our grave, that is a-okay with me. Epic Confrontation Mechanic. That's also fine. I don't think I'm going to recommission that, but that is fine. Combat Courier. Need to dig for removal. The best way to do that would be to put more soldiers on this board so I can draw a card every single turn instead of just once by doing a courier. So I think I play medic plus courier. That's the most mana efficient thing to do. I could alternatively just let Skystrike Officer die if they regular removal it and just go Air Marshal Recommission Mechanic here. They more aggressive. If they seem to have a real good late game, that would be hard to deal with as their plan. Should play another early game here, but they've already got chunky blockers everywhere for Mechanic. I'm just going to go Medic, Courier, pass. We have 3 soldiers out for the Officer now. I do get to attack with Vanguard here, I guess. Maybe trade for Rager, and I have to draw a card right now, but I don't really need to block anyway, so fine. Ooh, Aeronaut Cavalry's a big one. That's a good one. 1 mana away from it, though. Pretty happy of sideboarding that in, because that's going to be good this game. 3 power flyer to trade into the Recluse. It's also a soldier for the Skystrike Officer to draw us another card here if they don't deal with it right now. They're at 7 mana now, though, so they're at Boulder Branch Golem mana. Be a pretty devastating card for us to see here. Airlift Chaplain. Play that, really hope for the planes here. And I go Planes Air Marshal. It seems like the line. There's the planes. Unfortunately, I have to take that over the other Air Chaplain. Teensy bit awkward. Don't draw on 0 removal. I milled 1 removal spell. But we've got triple prison sentence and that other exile thing to break through the board state. And I have a feeling we're going to need one of those removal spells soon, because I highly doubt our opponent doesn't have a big creature to play sometime soon that we need to kill or die. So we're digging for the triple prison sentence static net for sure. Mind over Matter would also just be really good. So Mishra here, all of their artifacts have Unearth. Nothing engrave anyway. So we just have to sack a permanent to target their stuff. Alright, that doesn't really do much. That's fine. So now I have to sack a land to kill the Recluse, but that's about it. And looks like I definitely have the bonus lands to do that. Just cavalry up the Skystrike Officer at this point, just accept defeat, get ready to recommission the Skystrike Officer. No, because it would die and then it would put the officer back into my library. Put on the bottom of my library. I guess I'm just playing the cavalry and I'm going to start attacking with the cavalry later. We're chilling, we're vibing, we're hanging out. You know what, making Air Marshal big enough to attack into the Recluse also seems nice, because it can give itself flying. If I put the counter on the Medic, yeah, I've got a nice 2/5 lifelinker, but that still can't attack into Recluse. They'll just bounce off each other and the Medic dies to Death Touch. We need something that can trade with Recluse other than our Skystrike Officer. So getting the counter on Marshal seems like the best pick there, for that reason. Iron Craw Crusher, so there's the big creature to ramp into. That could be scary, but we can chump block that all day long. And I can just keep drawing extra cards to dig for our removal to get the recluse out of the way and just outrace them in the sky. Fly the air marshal up here. For sure. Good courier, I think I'm just going to engineer though. Send these both in against the recluse. I guess I don't have 3 soldiers now, so I don't get to draw another card off officer. But we get rid of the recluse, so still definitely valuable. Oh, they get rid of our combat courier now because we can't recommission a cavalry. They're just gonna put their own card back. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, Power Stone Engineer. I guess I could pick up the Airlift Chaplain and have more flyers. I'm immensely greedy this game with the Sky Strike Officer, but I'm gonna stay greedy because they don't have any flying blockers anymore. Now we're going to chump block with Courier, draw a card. And that's what we can do with our 2 mana. So we don't feel bad about not using it. Aww. Aww. Recluse number 2 it is. We are once again digging for our removal. Still send this Air Marshal in again. Nothing else. So we're going to take 4 damage from the Crusher, probably, and then block and sack whatever. Okay, if they don't attack, then we'll just take nothing. And I will not sack Courier. So if they attacked with these 2, then I would... I guess I would crack back for probably lethal, so that's why they didn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the sky. I think I prison sentence, sack a land, attack with everybody. Static Net and Warlord's Elite are my next plays, which are both great, especially Static Net. They're probably dead. They don't have a trick. They have 3 blockers. So they go block, block, block. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess not quite. We're going to send the Air Marshal into the sky here and go for it. Because we get the chump blocker off this, so they need to removal spell and then crack back for lethal. A little extra bold here. I don't think we need to do this. Yeah, I probably should have just attacked with the flyers here. Because I could die here. I'm like not on board, right? I just take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I only take 13 on board. They need to find a way to do 6 more damage. They need to find a way to do 6 more damage and kill my soldier. This is definitely bold, but it's not as monstrously bold as I thought initially. We only got like 1 extra damage though out of our ground creatures. We lost pretty much all of them. I don't think it was the right play. Well, if they have anything that kills us here, they will find it. Diabolic Intent to search their library for any card, put it into their hand. Giant Growth plus removal spell kills us. Yeah, I definitely just shouldn't have sent in with anybody on the ground. My quick maths was 1 damage off. It was not lethal. Oh my god, it is Giant Growth plus removal spell. Gaia's Gift? Giant Growth plus Gaia's Gift. Whirling Strike also does it. Oh my god, that was close. They didn't have Gaia's Gift or Whirling Strike to give the trample there. Alright, well, I almost punted that game away. Luckily, they only had the one combat trick and not the two. And so we are going to find the victory there. Definitely only sending it in the sky would have been the play. But we will get there regardless. We are 5-0 in our rounds. We are grabbing that 4,000 gold and that Decathlon token and moving on. Again, an excellent deck today. Pretty much everything in the deck overperformed. I don't think there's anything in here that did particularly poorly. I mean, Military Discipline didn't come up too often, but outside of that, even the Ocean Medics showed up and slowed some people down, gained us some random life, and that was probably my least favorite card in the deck. The recommissions really overperformed today. I should have been playing them more aggressively in that game. We probably could have won several turns ago if I wasn't so hell-bent on just making sure I could return my Sky Strike Officer from grave. Overall, really excellent deck. Love all the removal in here. Kayla's Reconstruction was phenomenal. Sky Strike Officer was obviously phenomenal. Quadruple Courier, really just zipping through our deck. Super fun stuff today, and we are going to be 4-0 for Decathlon number 5, grabbing that token, and moving on to the next Decathlon event. So that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, we are going to be playing more Decathlon events pretty much every day until the Arena Decathlon is over. So you can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some of those videos in your recommended feed. If you want to hang out live, you can check out the Twitch channel where I'm live multiple times a week. And if you want to support the channel directly, check out the Patreon link in the description below as well. Outside of all that bookkeeping, as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.